So there's a shift happening right now, and most people are reading it completely wrong. More and more black celebrities are openly aligning themselves with Trump and his MAGA party. And it's being framed as independence, free thinking, and waking up. But when you actually break it down, what you're seeing isn't a new political awakening, it's something else. A mix of surface level understanding, confidence that outpaces due diligence, and in some cases, financial incentive dressed up as conviction. And the ironic thing is, the people promoting it aren't the ones who have to live with the consequences. At least they don't think they do. But before we get into it, believe it or not, this is our 100th episode of Pragmotiv News. We appreciate everybody who's been rocking with us for the past 7 months. This is just the beginning. It's your boy Trey, and welcome back to Pragmotiv News. So if you've been paying attention, you've seen it. Nick Cannon, Amber Rose, Kanye West, and now, allegedly, even Chili from TLC. There's a shift happening, but the real question is, what's actually driving it? On the surface, this trend looks like independence. People stepping outside the norm, questioning the system, and that's appealing because nobody wants to feel like they're being told what to think. But independence only works if it's built on understanding. Let's take the most common example. Recently, there has been a lot of chatter, namely from Nick Cannon. Yeah, this Nick Cannon, about how Democrats is the party of the KKK. Take a look.
100%. People don't know that the Democrats is the party of the KKK.
Yeah.
Let's say everybody around you was like, yo, you need to start learning about politics, and you held off for a minute. But then you were finally like, all right, I'll learn something. And this world is really new for you. Like, you've heard the words before, like Democrat, Republican, but you don't really know what they mean. Then when you're on this journey, somebody tells you that the Democratic Party created the KKK. That would be jarring. That would be extremely confusing for you. Because you know that that's the party that most black people vote for. That wouldn't make any sense. And now the very people who told you to learn a little something are screaming at you and calling you a dumbass and telling you to stay in your lane. That don't make any sense. I'm not going to discourage this journey you're on. You're trying to learn something. I love it. Keep going, actually. You opened that book, you read that article, you watched that video, you took the first step. I'm proud of you. You're about to learn so much about the world around you if you just don't stop. So let's ask the next question, because it is crazy, right? The Democratic Party created the KKK, but you look around, all black people vote for the Democratic Party. That don't make no sense, right? 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 Because there's more. American political parties are houses. You have the House of the Democratic Party. You have the House of the Republican Party. The houses don't create anything. The people inside of the houses do. You can only have two types of people in those houses. You can have conservatives or liberals. White conservatives lived inside of the House of the Democratic Party at that time, and they did not want black people to be seen as human. They were very violent, for sure. Here's a fun fact for you. Everywhere white conservatives have been throughout history ain't a place black people want to be. Then, from within the Democratic House, a man named Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, two of the most important pieces of legislation for your freedom as a black American. A traitor, they said. Those white conservatives inside of that Democratic House, it ran them out of the House. It went over to the Republican House. That's called party realignment. And that's why you see more black people finding a home in the Democratic House, staying far away from them white conservatives that created the KKK. They went over there, we came over here. You see what I'm saying? Just keep going, bro. Keep going. You hear something and it doesn't make sense. Stay curious. Ask the next question. I love this for you. You learning something. Let's go.
Man, Joshua Doss really be hitting on IG. But yeah, what Nick said is partially true. And that's where the problem lies. He didn't finish his research. Because if he had, he would know that members of the KKK used to be members of the Democratic Party. But what's often left out is the details about the political realignment that happened during the Civil Rights era, like Josh just explained. So when Nick's statement is presented alone, it creates a conclusion that doesn't actually reflect our current reality. This isn't about whether the fact is true, it's about what happens when the context is removed. And this is where influence becomes dangerous. When someone like Nick Cannon says this, it doesn't land like a debate point. It lands like a revelation, because to a lot of people, that's new information. So it feels like I've been misled. But in reality, it's not new, it's just incomplete. And incomplete information presented confidently can reshape how people see reality. But misinformation alone doesn't explain this trend. There's another factor people don't like talking about. Let's deal with this directly. There are legitimate policy differences between political parties. And some of those differences, especially around taxation and regulation, tend to benefit high-income individuals. So when you see wealthy celebrities taking political positions that seem odd, it's reasonable to ask, is this ideological or is this financial? Supporting policies that benefit you while taking away lifelines your audience depends on, that's not political, that's selfish. The average viewer is not a millionaire, is not insulated from economic shifts, is directly affected by policy outcomes from this administration. So when messaging is coming from people who are financially protected, it can create a disconnect. And in my opinion, when that disconnect isn't acknowledged, it crosses into selfish territory. Not because people aren't allowed to have different political views, but because influence comes with responsibility. And the impact of that influence is bigger than people think. When a celebrity aligns publicly, it doesn't just signal belief, it normalizes behavior. It shifts what feels acceptable. Kanye West made it visible. Amber Rose made it conversational. Others make it feel casual. And once something feels normal, people stop questioning it. That's why the internet has been ablaze about Chili from TLC. There have been reports that she is the latest black celeb to join the MAGA crowd. But unlike the others, she has publicly said she's not MAGA. According to People, Chili denies being a Trump supporter and claims she did not read the fine print on the donations that she made. Now, whether or not you believe her is up to you. This isn't about whether or not she supports Trump or not. It's about the fact that she didn't know what she was supporting. And that's the issue here. Because influence without awareness still has impact. We're in a moment where confidence is mistaken for expertise. Contrarian takes are mistaken for depth, and social media amplifies that. Because the algorithm doesn't reward accuracy, it rewards reaction. So now you have high visibility, high confidence, and partial information. That combination spreads faster than truth. And this is where it becomes serious, because political beliefs don't stay theoretical. They translate into decisions, voting decisions, policy support, and public opinion. And those decisions affect the cost of living, access to healthcare, and economic opportunity. So when people are forming those beliefs based on incomplete or misrepresented information, the consequences are very real. The people promoting these ideas are often shielded from those outcomes. You think people like Amber Rose and Kanye West and Nick Cannon are worried about inflation right now? You think they're choosing between gas and groceries right now? No, they fine. But the people influenced by them, who's supporting them? So the pattern isn't just celebrities going MAGA. It's influence being used by people who don't have to carry what comes with it. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because it doesn't sound like manipulation. It sounds like truth. It feels like insight. But by the time you realize what it actually is, the decision's already been made. Look, this isn't about telling you what to believe. It's about understanding what you're hearing. Because when someone with a platform speaks on something this serious, you have to evaluate it differently. Not based on confidence or popularity, but based on completeness, accuracy, and consequence. Because at the end of the day, the people most affected by these ideas are usually the ones who can afford it the least.